What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Filmmaker Hotline. Today, we are going to be talking about just some general updates, what we got going on in our own, creative work, as well as how to become a filmmaker. So let's get into it.
Boom. Oh, and remember to call in by this number, with this number,
Yes.
to give us your question, and we will answer it here on the show.
Good looking out. I totally forgot that part, so here we are.
It's fine. That's why you have me here.
Let's go. So, bro.
My guy, this is like almost what episode? Technically, this is episode.
Trace.
Not even episode, but how many times? But like how many times we've recorded so far now?
Oh, yeah,
we recorded like 6 episodes.
Yeah, we recorded 6 times. It's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, dude, what's up?
How's it going? What you got going on?
A lot. This year came out swinging with like a ton of editing. And I would say editing's not my most favorite thing, especially when I have to edit other people's work. I mean, say other people, like jobs that aren't like with my inspiration, because I can't get into that flow as fast, as quick. And so I'm relying on like, okay, here's what I think. And then I had to kind of hand it off and say like, well, what do we need to adjust, tweak, and all that stuff.
Totally.
So, so this past month, January, we 2016, we shot for Clever Supply Co. We released that Kickstarter. We shot the video and then I edited the video. We're pretty proud of it. He was, happy
solid.
that how it turned out. A lot of good response from it. I made a rig video about how I made the bag POV rig. That was fun. It's on the channel if you want to watch. Did that, but on top of that, I was editing. I had to edit a few other videos for Moment, right? Yeah, well, I was editing it, then it got pushed back because we had to move some things around because of scheduling. And then, so last year, I went to Israel and got hired to shoot a doc out there for the choir. I had worked with them years ago. I went to Africa with them. This time we went to Israel, and so that project changed quite a bit. And we're gonna have a whole episode about like production, post-production nightmares, but not, I won't say nightmares, but like things that just kind of changed in an instant, because this project changed quite a bit throughout the year.
Jeez.
And so it's all coming down to like, well, we just want to have at least a 5-minute what the project was about, because at first it was like, oh, we just want all short form, and then now it's like this. I'm like, whoo. And we had a contract, but like things we're just trying to figure out what makes sense. Anyway, I'm just rambling now.
No, I understand.
Sorry, y'all.
I understand.
This is also like kind of cloudy in my head. But right now, that's what I'm editing right now. You've probably seen some posts of like on Twitter or on the community tab, things that I'm learning from this process, things that like are just going to help me from the filmmaker and director side as I'm editing this, because there's like, dang, why did I not hold that shot longer, or even now, like, it's weird to say that when I do docs, I had to think of 2 formats. Traditionally, you just think of one format and one location, right? You would think like, this is going to live on a 16:9 site, right? And it's going to have these longer chunks of information, and you can let things breathe a little bit. But in the era now that we're in with social media, you had to think of 2 formats more and more.
Yeah.
Well, because your client might come to you like, hey, can we get short form content of this or a shorter version of this? But then when you were shooting it with interviews and whatnot, you didn't think about shorter questions. You didn't think about more concise questions or answers and things like that. And so now I'm kind of struggling with a little bit of that with the edit. So, and then I have a couple more reviews to kind of start putting out for my channel and some other stuff. So that's what's on my plate right now.
Let's go. What's the thing that you're like most? What's the thing that you're most excited about? Like something that you're working on that you're like, I'm hyped.
Well, I'm excited to work with you. So Edward and I are going to actually do a project together. We got hired to do something here locally in South Bend. We're still waiting on some of the details, but that's going to be hopefully maybe mid-March, end of March. We'll start filming together. I'm going to New York for a project, for a presentation that is with 2016. And I'm excited to keep working, but also I need to just find a rhythm where I can start working on something that's meaningful to me.
Yeah.
I got in contact with a director out in Chicago. He's a Christian director, so he has a lot of short films that he has in mind. He just needs the skill set from a DP like myself to start putting those into vision. Like, he's done tons of work, but he wants to be able to just do more directing.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely like God led us to come together and talk with each other. And I'm very excited for his vision because his vision aligns with my visions. And so I just want to see how that kind of blossoms over the year. He's going to hire my wife and I to go and do the short film portion of his doc that he's working on.
That's sick.
Yeah, so we're gonna figure out some production dates for that in the summer. That is.
Come on, bro. Let's get it.
Yeah, man.
That sounds
Yeah,
exciting.
Man. It's very exciting. And scary at the same time. I'll tell you about that off camera.
Of course. No, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, mine's kind of similar. I work full time as a filmmaker at a church, and so that's always a consistent thing that I'm working on. But then I also been building a YouTube channel. If this comes out when I think it'll come out, then I'll actually have my first video up. So
bang,
pretty stoked about that.
Make sure to head over there, guys. Head over to his channel.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Of course.
But yeah, and then so I basically am trying to get ahead on that. So I have 4 videos done, and I'm wrapping up my 5th video. They're coming out every other week, so it's like, roughly like 2 months of content, which I'm pretty stoked on. And then I'm doing daily shorts again, which I think is going to be a stretch, but I also have a different way I'm doing it. So basically, like, the short version is I've broken it down into different genres of content. And so I'll just sit down and create one genre for like an hour. And then that'll give me anywhere between 3 to 6 videos in that genre. And then from there, I can edit those out as I need them. And so I'll just go through in a day and I create all 6 different genres, and have 3 to 6 videos of each of those. And then I'll just edit them out. So it allows me to create content a lot more in a more focused way. But then it gives enough variety, hopefully, to anyone who's watching. So I'm stoked on that. But then probably the stuff I'm more stoked about are like the bigger projects. So like you and me are doing the thing in March. That's going to be super fun because we've never met in person. So
no, we haven't.
It's crazy. And be on the lookout because we're going to record, if we can, we're going to record at least one episode live.
A whole behind the scenes. Yeah, that would be very fun. We could probably just do it here in the studio.
Exactly. And then, probably some behind the scenes stuff as well. So I want to make a breakdown on that. But then I'm also working on a live recording for a band from Little Rock. So I've done some previous music videos with them, and they hit me up. And I think it's going to be pretty sick. We're shooting on the 6K Pros, Leica R glass. It's going to be fun. Kind of like Tiny Desk vibes, but like a little bit more produced, hopefully.
Didn't you mention you're going to be shooting on the 6K Pro quite a bit this next couple of months?
Yeah, so so that project is the beginning of March. So we're shooting 6K Pro there. And then we're shooting 6K Pro at the end of March. And then I'm actually on shooting a short film for a group of friends. We're kind of like, one of my friends is trying to kind of start a production company, so he's bringing all of us in as he's starting it, and we're all kind of helping him start it with him. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like if he has an idea or someone has an idea, we're all basically the crew. And so so we're doing that, and we're shooting that on 6K Pro. And like R glass. So after the end of this year, I'm gonna have a lot of projects that I either shot or worked on that were shot on 6K Pro and Leica R glass, which I'm not mad. Like, that's a great combo. But
yeah, and know what's crazy? I hope that Blackmagic decides to surprise us in April with something at NAB. I have no intel. I have contacts in Blackmagic, but they don't say anything to me.
Yeah,
I'm not that higher up in their list yet.
Yeah, I mean,
but that'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be sick. So so I'm excited about that. So basically, that is up until June. I'm pitching some stuff for July, but really just waiting around. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the first half of the year, I had originally planned to make my own projects for the first half of the year, and then basically everything came up, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm not working on my own stuff.
Bro, that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, but you mentioned, I want to talk about this. Like, you mentioned wanting to do something you're passionate about, and that doesn't always have to be like your own, something that you wrote. Like,
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, sometimes you can just find a director or someone who has a similar vision to you that's going to still fulfill your want to do something that has your voice in it. If that makes sense, because then you can work closely with a project that allows you to do that. And so finding this director who's out in Chicago, his name is Tilla. We all have the same goals, and so in the way that we want to tell stories and the messages. So it's like, well, if you have that, then let me come in, let me be able to fully focus on being a DP in this space, and then we can really kind of guide and tweak and massage the story to make it great. Because like one of my internal goals too is like as a Christian filmmaker is just to make better Christian films.
Yeah. There's not a lot of good ones out there.
There's not a lot of good ones out there. And the ones that are good, they're very on the nose.
Yeah.
Like when I think about Christian films, it has to also show the reality of life.
Yeah.
You know, like, yes, we have hope as Christians, but day to day, your hope is being beaten and bastarded and plowed and all over the place, right? So how do you, like, how can a completely hopeful film be relatable to someone who's not in that same mindset, right? So I just wanted to definitely just bring in the reality, talk about some of the taboo things that from growing up as a Christian that tends to not talk about, and then how do we kind of go through that with the new identity of being a follower of Christ? So what does that look like, right? So
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, because like Hollywood was my goal early on in my career, but it's like it's not nowhere near my goal now.
Yeah, same. I've kind of like, I was talking to someone, you know, actually, William H. Baker. Have you seen him on like Instagram?
Sounds familiar. You've seen your profile.
So he's the guy. This is how I made this shot, and he uses like Amaran and aperture stuff, and he like makes these little So I've been talking to him, and he asked me like, what do you want to do in filmmaking? And I was like, that's a good question. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of like I kind of just want to make more of my own stuff and like make some commercials here and there, make my own projects like short films and stuff, but I never have and probably never will have a huge desire to make a blockbuster movie. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Is that bad? Is that,
and I mean, like,
okay?
That's not bad at all, because like there's so much red tape, there's so much control at the top that if I mean, look, this is just speaking for us. We're still like on the bottom of a lot of things,
right?
And I'm fine with that, because I found the way, but also we've been blessed throughout my whole career that I can support my family as a content creator, filmmaker, and I still enjoy what I'm doing. I can still help others, like you're doing too, like understand this craft and stuff. But also like the major goal is to also just use my talent that's God given me to speak on things that I care about.
Totally.
Or to speak on things that I'm convicted about. And so I know that very idea, like I just said right there, does not align with Hollywood.
Right.
So I'm not going to go for Hollywood. Hollywood doesn't want that.
Right.
And they've attempted to whatever they did with like Noah and Moses, and I'm just like, that's a bunch of baloney.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So.
I get it. So I am curious, with all these projects coming up you've got going on, what, like as a filmmaker, what's the thing that you're like the most, I guess, intimidated by, or like, you know, scared of? I don't know, that it seems kind of extreme, but I know
no,
the
that's a good
for
question.
me. So.
I feel like I'm always scared for the next project. Am I the right person for the job? What other things I need to learn? It's like it goes back and forth for me. It's like I'm afraid of what the next job is and what I have to learn, but at the same time, I'm excited for that very same thing. But I guess like just to be really pinpointed, I'm afraid that if I'm doing too much, am I taking away time from my family? Because this last couple of months have been pretty difficult. Like, again, I'm working from home. You're working from home. Well, you work out of an office though. You're lucky.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
But working from home is like to really kind of get my kids to understand, like, daddy has to go downstairs and do something, or if I'm editing upstairs, it's hard for me to not want to be a dad, but also I need to be able to do the work so I can still provide for my family. So it's like, I'm afraid if I can't really continue to strive to figure out a balance with that I'm afraid that I don't want that to be detrimental to the family, basically. So I don't want the jobs that I want to do and all the exciting things I want to do to override my responsibilities at home, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's real. That's part of having kids, but just part of like having a family at all. Like even just being married, I feel like there's an element of that. Like the balance is, or the rhythm, I guess you could say, is super important.
Yeah, and so the first step is just being aware of that. Like you just said, just be aware. If you can take a break, because that's what I've been trying to do. Is like, okay, if I commit to like an hour of just, hopefully I can just get through an hour of just editing, then I'll take a break, play with the kids, check on the wife, stuff like that. It's not always the case, but if I can do that and build on that a little bit, then it kind of helps the situation for sure. Yeah. What about you? What was the question? What are you afraid of?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, I think, I don't know. I think that there's an element of starting a YouTube that means that I have to share my work. And I guess that if I'm being honest with myself, like I'm afraid that my work won't be good enough. Like, and that, like, and there's other things, right? Like I'm trying to bring my wife onto as many shoots as I can. Like I'm trying to bring her up to South Bend with us and just keep, like, if I have to travel, see if she can come. But then also, I mean, I think I have done, like, over the years of filmmaking, because I have mainly done freelance and I live in like Arkansas, the majority of the stuff that I've been doing has been to make money. It hasn't been to make art, basically. So I don't have a ton of stuff that, like, besides like music videos that I made this and I want people to see it and that sort of thing. So I would say, as I'm making new things that aren't music videos, I'm like, okay, I'm a little nervous that, how is this going to turn out? Or, because at the same time, if I'm going to make something, I want to talk people through, like, how did it go? Where did I fail? Where did I succeed? And whatever. And how did the team figure it out? And so I do want the final result to be pretty good. I'm not going to make a breakdown of something that crashed and burned. I mean, I might.
You could. That's a learning lesson.
Yeah, I have a video.
A couple ideas for that too.
Yeah, I have a video plan where I blew a music video budget all on the camera. So I think we've talked about that. So
we did.
I might make that video. It's on my list, but yeah. So I think there's just things like that. Like, is my work actually good enough to break down? Some comparison that comes in with that, but really it's like,
so it sounds like a little bit of a imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. But if you've been doing this for 5 years, you have something to say. So
yeah, it's just like the element of, like, now I'm saying something, but like more than my client being like stoked on what we make, I want like people to be able to learn from it and like be like, oh, that was sick. Like, I want to make something like he did, or not even that, but just like be inspired by it. It's like, because I know there's tons of guys out there, you included, that I'm like really inspired by, and when I see your work, like, I'm like, oh yeah, that's so sick. And so, anyways, I want that. I want that to be the same effect, but I don't know. The way that I've fought through it for the last year is just putting stuff out and like just not disassociating, but basically being like, okay, I don't care. Like, just I put it out. Yeah. I don't care.
Just put it out there and let it live.
Yeah. So,
well, I hope you do find make a project or find a project that you want to kind of be able to show what you can really do. And if you need help, you know who to call. So
for sure. Yeah, I had 4 things planned this year, and or like in my mind that I wanted to make, but really 2 of them I've had this story that I've wanted to make for, I mean, it's been 2 or 3 years. It's been since like before 2020. But I just haven't made it because it feels like a really good story, and I'm like, I don't want to mess it up. So,
dude, you gotta jump in.
Yeah,
you gotta jump in. Your first story is not gonna be your last story. Just know that.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so I guess that being said, all of my imposter syndrome aside, we should probably get into our question for this episode. Let's do it.
This is Elias. I am very interested in starting to learn videography, and I was just wondering what a beginner should do to understand and try and master videography.
So I guess the first thing you want to do if you're asking this question, how to become a filmmaker, is what does that even mean for you? I guess my assignment to whoever's listening to this would be just like, write down what filmmaking is to you, and when you write that down, then you can start finding the different areas of filmmaking, because filmmaking is very multifaceted, right? There's so many different ways to go about it. Filmmaking feeds into content creation, it feeds into corporate work, it feeds into art and narrative work, it feeds into, you can get into the Hollywood, whatever, stuff like that, or or the indie films, basically. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. So that's what I would try to figure out. What are you more drawn to? Documentary, narrative? Do you just need to make money, right? For the time being, and then transition. Oh, sorry, I forgot commercial work too. Like it's the commercials you want to get into. So that's where I would kind of start. What would you say next?
No, yeah. I mean, I think once you've started there, you've kind of defined that defines pretty much everything else, like your direction. So like if you just want to make content, like your phone is probably the best thing you could get into. And we talk about that in a different episode, but there are certain like gear directions depending on where you want to go. But then there's also, I would say, like things that you need to learn. If you want to be a commercial director, like there's, learning how to pitch on stuff, learning how to like, I don't know. There's tons of different things that you need to learn for each different realm that you talked about. Yeah. And I think that kind of determines like where you start trying to grow your own personal skill, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think before we get into that part too, is this. So once you, write down the direction you want to get into and stuff, there is a step with like gear. So figuring out what gear you can get and whatnot. But also now it's like, what are the skills, like you were just saying, you need to learn? So the basic thing, if anything, is how do you record with a camera?
Yep.
How do you work on composition and lighting and all that stuff? And also how do you bring that into an editor? Like that core thing is every filmmaker's core, because we all start out doing the thing, directing, editing, shooting, all of that, lighting, whatnot. And so it sounds daunting, but start with the thing that you're most interested in. And also, the second thing you would do, the most thing you're least interested in.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Because I think that will help. Then you can kind of fill out the gaps between those two.
Yeah.
Because you need all of it. Like you need to do all of it when you're just starting, or you have the luxury of having a group of people that you can work out of and shoot a bunch of stuff. I guess too, it's like in a condensed way. Like, how did you start your filmmaking journey?
Yeah, I mean, just the short answer is I watched enough YouTube and wanted to make videos so badly. So I bought a camera for $300, and it was a Canon T3i, and I shot some stuff with it. I didn't like anything I shot with it. But I basically just started making videos on my own. They never really went anywhere. And once I got a camera, once I got into some gear that was like decent at the time, I just started making videos for people that like were around me. Like I was friends with people at a coffee shop. I was like, hey, can I make a video for you guys? I don't want to get paid. I just want to get the experience. So having like just friends that you can reach out to, like that's how I started. And then from there, I just kept telling people I did videos and kept trying to make videos for free until someone was like, hey, I want you to make this video. How much would you charge? And I was like, okay.
Well then.
Well
I'm glad
then.
you asked.
How much will I charge? So yeah, I mean,
No, and that's great because that just shows you. Because I have a similar story too, but I think like it's just filmmaking it's a journey. To be honest, like, it's something that you put your mind to, and it's a lot of self-taught information. Because a lot of us don't have the opportunity to go to school and do it. I went to school for photography.
yeah,
But way before that, like before YouTube was what it is now, we can just go search, how do I do this technique or how do I do this? There was like 5 photographers on YouTube at the time when I was using. Brian Peterson was my go-to, and I was learning everything from him, bought his books, read everything, watched as many videos that were out there for camera reviews and whatnot.
yeah,
And I just went out and just did the thing, a bunch of trial and error. And I just committed to my mind, like, this is what I want it to be. So I need to do everything I can to teach myself how to do it. Because nobody's going to, I was in an area where there was no, I was in high school and high school at the time, there was no creative outlets for photo video. So I had to do everything myself. And thank God I had like the support of my family, my mom and dad. They bought me my first camera.
yeah,
And then I was able to just photograph everything. I traveled a lot, so I was able to do a lot of different stuff. And then, like you said, I just told people this is what I want to do. And people who are listening and care about you will try to give you opportunities to do that thing.
yeah,
So, and it's tougher today, I think, because there's so many people trying to do that thing, that filmmaking thing. A lot of times, then you'll face the imposter syndrome. You'll
Sure,
face,
yeah.
like, am I good enough? To be honest, like we faced that too growing up, but I just kept to myself, like, this is what I really love to do.
yeah,
And I'm going to give my time and energy into it. And eventually it's going to pay off.
yeah, yeah.
And then you say that early enough, but also you become smarter and wiser. Then you can see how you can turn that into the business. Because being a filmmaker, you're wearing multiple hats. You need to learn how to market yourself. If you're doing freelance, you need to learn how to be able to land a job, right? And this is still very surface level, top level, but it's like there's so many different
Yeah.
avenues to go into. And for me, my turning point was when I was in college. I was still doing photography, BFA. Then they brought in documentary or film. And I was like, whoa, that's a whole nother level of storytelling.
Yeah.
And I went full in.
Yeah.
So I had the resources because I was in school, but it wasn't like traditional film school. It was just documentary. But I took every single class.
That's cool.
And what you can do now is just take, Skillshare classes, master course classes, like just be a student. Like you have to be a student of the craft that you want to be in,
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
And yeah. And so, and then from there, I just tried to get on many different projects as I could. I traveled a lot if I could too. And I mimicked people early on because I didn't have a voice. I didn't know what I wanted to shoot exactly. So I mimicked what was out there. And mimicking it's a good thing to start because it teaches you it teaches you problem solving skills to get to a certain look or a certain storyline. But then once you're mature enough out of that phase, you need to move on and figure out, your next thing, your next voice, because you just can't mimic your whole way. It's just copywriting after that.
Yeah, but I would even say that, like, when you're starting out, I think a lot of people expect to, start working on something and within a year, maybe 2, start making things that they're proud of. I'm gonna be honest, like, I've been a filmmaker it's been almost 7 years. I've been at my current job for 5. And I can count on one hand the projects that I would show someone that I'm really, really proud of. And those haven't even been my own narratives or I didn't start those projects. People came to me with those projects. So if no one had even come to me with those projects, I wouldn't have them to show for. So I wouldn't get focused on, like, trying to make it in a year or trying to be an overnight success because like, let's say you start making videos and you post them and you get them out there and one of them goes viral, but you're 6 months in, you still don't really know how to make incredible stuff. So what if you have 20,000 followers or whatever? Like, if you don't actually truly know how to do the craft of filmmaking well in a way that, like, you can create something that you're truly proud of consistently. It doesn't matter.
I was going to say you've heard of the 10,000 hour rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
That still applies today, yo.
Yeah.
My teachers used to tell me that all the time. But the thing that's tough when you think about that is the world we live in with this instant gratification of like TikTok views and short form views. That tends to override a lot of people's expectation because they think that the fact that they got views and comments on this one particular thing, like you're saying, also, I made it. It's like, no, that's not the case.
Yeah.
You have 10,000 hours, not literal 10,000 hours, but like you still have a whole life ahead of you to perfect your craft.
Yeah.
And that's the idea behind that statement. You have it's a 10,000 hour. What is the real statement? I forget.
I don't remember, but yeah.
But just know that you have a long way to go to perfect your style. And if you think that if you hit a few viral videos and you made it, then you've stopped learning.
Right.
But also, like, there is sort of this expectation of a filmmaker, and a filmmaker is someone who wants to tell a story, for one.
Yeah.
And then they figure out the tools and craft that they need to do to get the story across. And so I feel like there's something else to say there too, but that's sort of the core. That's the core of a filmmaking job.
Yeah.
And you can apply that to any kind of facet you go into. That's what makes the good filmmakers so successful, because they understand how to craft a story and use the tools to help deliver that story. And that's something that we're striving to do, right? We're trying to get to a point where we understand more of the story than anything, to get to take the viewer and take them across this journey of how to change their mind or introduce something different to them, or share something that's very vulnerable, whatever that it might be. There's so many different ways to do that. It can be entertainment, it can be information, all that stuff. So it's just like sitting down, really kind of wrestle with the idea of like, why do you want to do this? The why is the biggest thing, and then understand what the goal is as being a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And yeah, there might be obstacles you might have to face. But I mean, there's the internet now. There's so many ways to get out of this stuff that you can find opportunities, but you gotta want it. You gotta be like, all right, I see this wall, I'm gonna figure out how to get around it.
Right. Ask questions, look stuff up on Google, like ask us questions, like whatever. It doesn't matter. There's a solution for every filmmaking problem you're gonna find. And if someone hasn't made it,
then you can make it.
You can make it. Exactly.
And of course, guys, in the comments, feel free to give any advice, because we're just two guys. We have one 100%. Particular way of doing things.
Yeah.
And we just said in this video, it's like filmmaking is so vast. It's so there's so many ways to go about it. So feel free, drop your advice in the comments. This will definitely help others who see this, will read it, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have it all figured out, not even close.
Nope.
We're not claiming to. So give us your feedback, your advice, and if you have a filmmaking question that you would like us to answer, give us a call. Leave us a voicemail. Call the Filmmaker Hotline. We'd love to answer it on the pod. But until next time, see you guys.
See you in the next one.